Okay, going for a take. Take one. Action.
Hey, welcome back for Going for a Take. I'm Ben.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Olly. Hello.
And we're back for season 2. It's been
Who's
a while.
that?
Who is that?
Who-
What?
I don't recognise that.
Is that?
New host.
New
that-
host,
Hi.
baby.
Olly
Thank you for
Rooks?
having me. I'm back.
Wow. Thanks.
How's it
thanks for
going,
coming.
guys? Are you
It's going
excited? New
yeah,
season.
Yeah.
Let's
It
go.
is. I'm so full of like nervous energy right
I
now.
know, same.
I had a coffee as well. I was running on fumes. I hadn't like set up enough yet, and now I'm like literally jittery. I was trying to write on the clapperboard, and it was just shaking. Fortunately, we have Carla here to help us out, who's done
know.
some gorgeous fucking calligraphy.
New crew
yeah.
as well. Not just new host,
Yeah.
new crew. Woo-woo. Max is still here though. Max is still here.
Max is still here. And we've got a new setup as well. It's nice.
Yeah,
Everything's
it's
new.
very homely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Matt's house.
It's Matt's
flat.
house. It's Matt's.
It's good.
But no, buzzing for season 2. Today, what are we chatting about?
What are we chatting about?
Adolescence, baby. What everybody's talking about at the moment. Yeah, brilliant show. It's basically, it follows 13-year-old Jamie, who's accused of the murder of a female classmate, and his family, therapist, and the detective in charge are all left asking what really happened. And at first, it's pitched as a whodunit, but quickly moves on after seeing concrete evidence that Jamie has actually committed the crime to a whydunit. It explores masculinity and femininity and the male and female roles within the modern world, the complex nature of the online environment that kids and teens are exposed to now at such early ages, and especially the kind of content that is targeted at young men within the manosphere, influencing their attitude towards women, sex, and their social status and self-confidence. Now, I'm just going to throw in a quick potential trigger warning, as we may touch on topics that, you know, some people might find upsetting surrounding sort of violence to women and violent crimes. So if that's not your bag, don't listen to this episode.
And definitely a spoiler warning as well.
Definitely a
Yeah.
spoiler warning. We're
lot
going
of
to try and
spoilers.
cover pretty much the entire series, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But we'll start off with something a little bit lighter. And first, let's just focus on the way it was made. I mean, 4 episodes, all filmed in one continuous shot, which is a technical
It was
achievement,
insane. There's
right?
some footage of them doing, I think it's episode 2 at the end of it, where they were like, okay, well, I think Jack Thorne I don't know if Jack Thorne or maybe I think it was a Netflix executive had said that we want to come back to having the dad at the end of the episode. So they were like, well, we're leaving the school. So how do we get to the dad over at the, the site where she was killed? And then they were like, okay, well, maybe like a drone shot. So you see footage of them. It's on YouTube and everything. You can watch it where the guy's with the camera, like running after the kids as they're leaving the school. And then someone hooks it onto the drone. They like flick it up on their little... You've used drones, haven't you?
Yeah.
So then flick it up on the little controller. I've no idea how it works. Technically wise, I'm appalled.
I don't know how it works, and I use them. I've got no idea.
It's insane.
Well, someone must know because it was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, we never jump in time. We're on this journey with the characters the entire way through. As an actor, that must be so lovely. Like to never have to break character, never go back in time and restart. I think they did do other takes of the episodes. So they shot, I think it was, they had like 4 takes in a day of doing each episode all the way through.
Two takes, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, was it only 2? Okay,
Yeah.
2 takes each day. So
Or there
one,
might have been like false starts, and maybe there was more than...
yeah, I'm not sure. But then once they were going, they were going.
Sick.
And like, that's just,
It's
you know.
just like theatre, right?
I was literally going to say that. It's literally theatre. I was like, once you start, you don't stop. And that adrenaline of just keeping going. I was like, oh, what an experience that must have been for all of the actors.
Can you imagine like the amount of, I mean, even like the adrenaline kicking in before we go for like a podcast where it's like at any point, if I say the wrong thing, we can cut and Matt can do a nice little edit and make it look like nothing happened. Thanks for the thumbs up. I appreciate you. But in that, you say the wrong name, you say the actor's name, I don't know, you forget a line and you can't work your way back to it in terms of improvising, you're done. And you've lost them however many thousands of pounds that take costs.
Millions.
It's mad. I mean, go on, what were you going to say?
I'd imagine as well, like obviously on the theatre, when you make a mistake, you can sort of work a way around it. But because the script felt very technical, like there was a lot of terminology which was used, which, you know, you can't really say something else for it. It has to be that. And that specificity of it, it's a challenge.
Like within the police scenes, like with procedure and everything like that. Yeah.
I really like the scene when they just got into the police station and the kid is basically being interrogated, being like, so why are you here? Do you want some breakfast? That really, for me, I was like, that shows the humanity. Because sometimes I think you think of a job and you think of people just doing a job. You don't think of the people. You think of the actual job itself. Like in episode 3, for example, when they're doing the interrogation of literally, it was basically just 2 characters for the whole episode, really. And you see that dynamic and how they worked off each other and that humanity that they brought for it. It was fascinating to watch. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say about the way it was filmed is I think, narratively, it's really interesting to see what, we can do nowadays with today's technology. And it's really interesting for the actors and everything to do it in one continuous take. I do think it suffered a little bit in particularly episode 2 and episode 4, story-wise, just the pace dropped a little bit. And there was just like the odd time. It didn't happen often, but there was the odd time where I just went, I really wish there's a cut there to just jump in like half an hour in the future.
Interesting, because you felt like, I don't know, story-wise, you were like, I don't need to hear what's happened to you in your morning breakfast or whatever.
Yeah. Or it felt like they were sort of improvising because something's taking too long. So it's they're waiting for a cue, or they're waiting to arrive at a certain location.
Do you know what?
So they're then having to keep the conversation going, and it's like...
Interesting. What's your take?
Yeah.
Well, I was literally just going to say that when I was watching it, there was a lot of imperfection, right? But I think that worked well for the story because in real life, nothing's ever perfect. Like even in those situations, stuff always goes wrong and people get left waiting longer than they should.
Yeah.
And I thought that, that might have just been my imagination, but that like when the pace slowed down for me, that was a reference to that. It doesn't always go well. It doesn't always go as smooth as you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I'm more on your side of things, I think, because I loved how you were seeing how they were. It was almost like taking off their mask of like how they're approaching people in like the external world, like whatever they're putting on. And then, the other people might leave them. And then you get to spend a second as they're walking down a corridor, like in episode 3 with Erin Doherty. And she's just walking down there and you kind of see her as she puts her mask, puts all the exterior that she's like putting on to protect herself, her armor down, and she crumbles a little bit. And then the other police officer comes in and she's like, no, okay, back on. And you could still have that with those cuts in if they wanted to plan that. But I think that the way that it was filmed, because of it, required them to have that. And as such, they were able to find these gorgeous little moments that might not have been found as organically.
I mean, don't get me wrong. For the most part, I thought it was paced beautifully and I thought they filled the time really well. It was just the odd moment, like in particular in episode 4, when they're in the van on the way to the department store.
Basically B&Q, whatever it was. It was
Discount B&Q.
Wainwright's.
Yeah. That's the one. When they're on the way to Wainwright's, that conversation I felt just went on for a bit too long. And I was like, there are moments within this conversation I'm like, yeah, this is great. But by this point, I know these characters. I don't need to get them. I don't need to get to know these people more than I already know within the show, because it's like, it just felt a bit unnecessary.
I enjoyed the conversation because it was one where they were talking about Take On Me and the first time that the couple met each other. And you see how they're trying to create normality for their daughter, or both for themselves as well, and try and regain this idea of like a happy kind of family. But yeah, I guess maybe that could have been done a bit shorter. From what you were saying, what do you think?
So with episode 4, for me, what I really liked about when they went to the basically B&Q was when they were leaving it, and obviously Stephen Graham puts the black paint on his car or his van to erase the saying on it. He got paint all over his hands, and then he says something like, oh, pass me your bag, love, or something like that. And he grabs the bag with the paint on his hands. And I was like, obviously, then there's going to be paint on it because it's not going to dry on his hands that quickly. And that might have been a nightmare for costume or props, or it might not have. However, it worked well because you can tell they're not thinking about it. They're not like, oh, I need to be at this point, at this point. He just grabs the bag, gets paint on it, puts it in the car, and then they go.
Yeah,
and then
perfectly imperfect.
Yeah. And that's sometimes I find that shows now often try and get it too right.
They're too polished.
Yeah. And, marble polished is nice to look at. But if you see a rough cut of marble, it's also really nice to look at. And that sometimes is what I appreciate more in a film and a TV show and on stage.
With the bag thing, did Christine Trimarco, did you notice if she clocked it Was it her handbag? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, it was her handbag, and it was a white or beige handbag. So I was like,
Oh, wow,
it will,
okay, yeah.
it will show. But the scene was so quick that it literally just went in the back. You didn't really see much of it. And then when Stephen Graham was driving the van, you could see his hands constantly jittering from the tension and that paint on his hands, and you're just like, oh.
If you think about that
nice.
with like from an acting point of view, the ability to literally be like almost overwhelmed by the emotions that you're feeling, for me, like sometimes can make me realize that I don't know the lines as well as I thought I did, because, you know, it all bubbles up, and whatever you push down when you were, I don't know, 16 or whatever starts bubbling up too. And you're just like, oh God, okay. Right, I guess we're in this, and it's really, really real. And I have no idea how we're going to like circumnavigate this. It's like relying on your scene partner. But like, it was like when we filmed a tape the other day, I was playing this character that's, overwhelmed, losing their sort of mental well-being. The lines are so difficult to control, because at some point you stop being, it's not that you stop being Matthew. It's like you stop being tethered, being grounded. You stop being grounded.
Yeah.
So yeah, to be able to continue that whole one take while still being as present and real and visceral as Stevie G is.
What an actor.
Is mad.
Talking about the actors, the performances in this. Owen Cooper, who plays Jamie, his first ever job.
It's so irritating.
wow.
I hate the guy. I can't help it. I am so jealous.
He's 16 now, 15, 16 now.
16. I think he's a couple years older than the character he plays.
Yeah.
Do you know what's crazy about it? He went to mild acting classes.
No
Did
way,
he?
really?
Yeah.
Oh, mad. Which ones?
The Drama Mob. I was with them
mint.
for probably about 4 years when I was like 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
I was like, when I saw that, because I saw Shaheen Bey, the casting director, but basically shouted them out and was like, we got actors from here, and they were incredible, and there's certain places where they aren't the institutions that you would go to sometimes for other actors. And I was just like, damn, you know, that boy's gonna go far. I mean, he's playing what is
Young
Heathcliff.
Cliff.
in Wuthering Heights. Mad.
Yeah.
What a man.
Mm-hmm.
What a
Brilliant.
boy.
Yeah,
Like they literally plucked him from like a council estate and just like, you are.
Well, they did
ideal.
loads of like open castings, and they went to different drama schools apparently, but they also did street casting as well.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's good. It's like when they cast industry, how they went to all the drama grads.
Yeah.
And were doing it that way because they wanted people who were just coming into it. It's smart. It's really
I think
smart.
I come back to this a lot, where it's almost trying to unlearn a lot of the jargon that gets placed on you when you go to, you know, education places or whatever. I mean, the knowledge is useful, but unless you digest it and work out a way to be able to actually utilize it, then it's just confusion in your head. I think there was I can't remember which actor it was, maybe Aaron Doherty, I can't remember exactly, was talking about how, you know, he's just not learnt the vernacular. He's not learnt what we're going for a take. He's not learnt that it's unusual to have things in a whole 1 hour take.
Yeah.
So he's just like, oh, cool, okay, sick. This is how we're doing it. Cool.
I was listening to an interview with Philip Barantini, who directed it, and he was literally saying like they did 5 rounds of auditions with him, and every time he came in, they threw something new at him, and he had no idea what it meant. So like they revealed the show to him as the audition process went on, and was like, okay, so we are going to film it all in one continuous take. And Owen was just there like,
cool.
Is that not how TV is made? He just doesn't know.
Sick.
Which I think is
so
beautiful.
liberating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's just got no idea going into it, and he still smashes it out the park.
He's so genuine. He's just there. He's so present. He's
and
listening.
Also, the director was sort of saying like, because Owen Cooper is very new to it and was sort of finding his feet as much as anybody else doing this new sort of technique that nobody's ever properly done properly. I know we saw it a little bit in 1917, but that's done with hidden cuts. So even though it's like a lot of long takes in that film, to give the illusion of one continuous shot, it's not. Whereas it's the first time that's ever been done properly.
Oh, like a 4 series. They did it in Boiling Point.
I was going to say, and that's Philip Barantini as well.
Yeah, same director, same Stevie G, same Stephen Graham. What was I saying? I've lost my train of thought. Oh no.
About that continuous, like you don't need to cut.
Oh yeah, that was it. So whilst they were ironing out the character of Jamie Miller, they just asked Owen, like, how would you say this word? Would you say that? And Owen was just like, no. It's like, all right, don't then.
Yeah.
Say it how you would, and
Cool.
we'll just iron it out later on. And like they really shaped the character around Owen Cooper, which I think is
It shows.
it reflects because it allows him to be free and allows him to give the best performance that he can.
It also makes me feel really old at 21. I was like,
Oh,
'cause-
don't come for me like that.
Yeah.
That was
Like-
the most hidden like switchblade that I've ever experienced in my life. Like really
No.
old at 21.
But honestly, when they in episode 2, when they were in the school and they were talking about all the meaning of the different emojis, I was like,
Innit? I have
kidney
no
bean
idea.
emoji? What? Like, when I was in high school, which was like literally when Snapchat first like properly started. So we were basically that generation of people, and I was like, certain things mean certain things. Yeah, a love heart means a love heart. A kidney bean means a kidney bean, surely. But in this show, a kidney bean means
I
something
actually
else.
don't know what a kidney bean means. I don't know. That's probably too explicit for this.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that because obviously we're from the generation of people who phones have been around for a while, but social media had started to really grow.
Yeah.
Particularly for yourself, Matt. And then after that,
That was another, that was a less guarded
Matt's
no,
jab at my
27,
age.
by the
Nah.
way. If anybody's wondering, he's 27 years old.
28 actually.
28.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, your birthday's just been. Yeah.
you don't look a day past 16.
28. Wow.
Well, yep, still playing 18-year-old, so looking fresh-faced.
But when I was watching it, I was like, this is literally what happened when I was in high school. I went to a high school which wasn't an amazing high school. It was very sometimes ropey at times, and a lot of stuff went down.
What'd you say? You
Like ropey at times.
ropey. Mhm.
A lot of stuff went down. You know, I knew people in high school who aren't here anymore due to what happened in their lives, and experiencing that in high school and seeing the hostility that young kids possess, and even worse now with social media. It's really scary to see what happens because it all filters down to them. And then as they grow older, those ideas go with them. An interesting point the writer of the show made was about he almost created the script based off Andrew Tate, which is a controversial figure to talk about because of his way of thinking. And I think this show was really important because, you know, art has its purpose. Sometimes it's to go and enjoy something, have a laugh. For me, if I'm feeling a bit sad, I'll put on The Hangover or really, really just something that will just make me laugh.
A silly film.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
all got our like silly films. But then also the other purpose of art is to tell people and show people the world through a different perspective where we don't have to suffer as a consequence of it through watching it. And this film does a really, really good job of showing us as an audience what's going on in schools.
What I find interesting is, and the show highlights this, is how those ideas are presented to these young men in the manosphere and on social media and everything. And it almost shows you the logic in them, and you can see why they've clung to these ideas and why they believe what they do. Because it is like figures like Andrew Tate and people who speak with so much confidence and with their reason that, you know, young, vulnerable men who potentially don't have a strong father figure or strong mother figure in their life will then cling to this strong person that they see online and go, yeah, they know what they're talking about. I'm going to mimic them. I'm going to copy them. And then it spirals and they end up doing potentially dangerous things. But it's scary how logic finds its way into their argument.
Definitely.
Because then it's harder to argue with it. It's harder to reason with them and explain why it's wrong because they've got their reasons and they've got, you know, explanations for what they're doing. Like with the 80-20 rule that incels believe, where is it 80% of women are attracted to the top 20% of men.
Yeah.
And so that leaves these men feeling like the only way that they can be with a woman or just in any capacity have interaction with a woman is to trick them and get them whilst they're down. I think Jamie talks about it in the show. I've written it down here, is that he first becomes involved with the female classmate that he has killed when she's getting bullied at school, and he goes around to her house and asks her out on a date because he thinks that she's weak in that moment, and she thinks that she'll want him because he's being nice when everybody else isn't. So he's able to jump on that and act as a predator to prey almost. I just, it's interesting, fascinating, but also scary.
It's it made me really look back at, as I was growing up, I am a bit older. So I was like the generation where, my older sister was probably like the Facebook generation. It's not even really used anymore. But
Facebook.
Huh? I was like the generation where people started talking to like strangers online and getting involved. Like TikTok wasn't a thing. Instagram was becoming bigger, and I could feel myself getting anxious about it. That was kind of the thing that like triggered like a lot of my OCD was not understanding the dangers online.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're a kid and you don't know the dangers, particularly then, like my parents obviously weren't of a generation where they knew what could be happening. Now there's a TV show which, is prompting parents across like the world. It's like number one across the world on Netflix, I think.
It is. Yeah.
To be going and sitting with their sons and their daughters and being like, have you watched this? Is this what's going on in your life too?
Politicians and that are like going for it to be shown in schools.
Yeah, as it should
and
be.
like to educate, because online safety is sort of baked into the current curriculum a little bit, but the kids find a way around it. They speak in codes that adults will never understand because it evolves too fast for people to be able to possibly wrap their heads around.
Just to jump on that though, because I'm like, it's an easy fix for a politician to be like, hey, you guys, you should watch this in schools, as opposed to politicians actually doing any of their jobs to actually like think about the wider thing of it. They're going, hey, parents, watch this with your kids. Hey, school teachers, watch this with your pupils, instead of, cutting down like youth centers and, creating areas for kids to go and like chat with other people and have role models and stuff. The actual harder work, instead of just going, you guys should watch this TV show. Sorry, a little rant over, but it's great. It's definitely many steps forward, but it's obviously it's just very easy to see how this vulnerable kid. Here's the question: it's a worry to think that if we were in a different environment, different circumstances, as boys, whether or not we wouldn't not be like indoctrinated in the same kind of circles that Jamie found himself in. It's awful to think that, but it's worth questioning that because he wasn't born like that. He wasn't bad initially, and somehow he found himself in that and found himself believing that.
Well, they say he's a good kid. Like he's got good grades. He's got a dad who, rightly or wrongly has heightened emotions at times. But it blindsides the family. They don't realize that this is happening, and like they're in the aftermath. They're then replaying like moments in their head of going like
buying the computer and letting
all
him,
those
like,
times that we've just left him alone in his room
not
on the
realising.
computer, and he's not even replied to us when we've told him to go to bed or whatever.
Well, have you guys ever watched Boye with Andrew Garfield?
What was that one? Sorry,
Boye with Andrew Garfield. It's about the
Boyip.
the Borgia case.
Boye.
Boye.
Oh no, I haven't.
It's about the Borgia case, as in the two guys that kill a young kid on the train track.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Jack Borgia, I think it was.
Yeah.
And about the life that happened and how it's like nature versus nurture, and how you get in the wrong crowds and how that makes you do certain things, and are you born that way, or is this
Jack Burridge.
Jack Burridge? That's the one. But the kid was called is it Jamie Bulger?
Jamie Bulger, yeah.
Jamie Bulger, yeah. And the film's incredible. I'd really recommend you
James
guys to
Bulger,
watch it.
sorry.
James Bulger.
He was the victim.
Yes, yeah, and it's a horrible story, and it's a really hard watch.
Yeah.
But tackles an idea which I think this TV show also has in it, of that nature versus nurture. Is, are we born this way, or are we given resources growing up that makes us become like this? And in this TV show, it's social media and the consequences of it. But in Boye, it's about being with the wrong people and doing things without realizing the consequences and the suffering that causes. One thing I did want to talk about before we wrap this episode was the final, I want to say final scenes, but it's all like a continuous scene. The final scenes in episode 4.
Oh yeah, heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking.
Episode 4 end? Oh, the teddy bear.
Like the teddy bear in the bed, and like, was I a good dad? What could I have done differently?
The blaming of himself. It's absolutely heart-wrenching.
I don't think I've ever felt so connected emotionally to a performance in a very long time. That was, I mean, I was meant to be doing some work on the podcast after finishing it. I was like, I can't do any work for at least an hour. I need to let that settle, because I felt so emotionally ungrounded after it, because it felt so relatable to so many people, including myself. And I was just mesmerized by Stephen Graham's vulnerability and his nuances and the detail, and not even just Stephen Graham, the whole cast. They really put something special together.
My favorite performance in the entire thing was Erin Doherty in episode 3.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire thing, and then at the end when she finally drops the mask once he's left the room.
Yeah.
And she has like a moment of like,
Yeah, that was.
Oh my god!
Because in your head, like, Erin must have also been like, okay, we're at the end. So sometimes when you get to an end of a scene, you kind of like, okay, we did it. Don't mess up now. The pressure's even more. So yeah, just to wrap up, final thoughts, final takes on it.
Incredible. That's it.
Say less. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, genuinely one of the most prevalent and important pieces of TV that I think has been made in the last 5-10 years, maybe, that's raising some really interesting conversations. And I think that the education system needs to catch up a little bit, and politicians need to do their jobs, like you said, a little bit more, and actually tackle the root cause of the issue. But it's a step in the right direction that it's even been made.
Yeah, I think the thing that I appreciated about it most was it asked questions without giving obvious simplistic answers, because it's not simplistic. It's so complex as a case, and it's a step in the right direction for sure. Yeah. Right. There we go, boys.
Wow.
Anything else? No,
I think that's a
wrap.
Fantastic. Thanks for watching.